I was recently contacted by Dehancer, a software that focuses on film emulation for digital clips. They asked me to test their product and share my honest thoughts. No filters. As someone who was always looking for new ways to improve my visual storytelling, I was curious to see how well Dehancer could recreate the magic of film in a digital world. So, here we are. First of all, I want to make one thing clear. I am not a professional colorist. I am a filmmaker who mainly focuses on directing and editing, but I often handle personal projects where I take care of color grading as well. For me, doing all the color work without a professional's help has always been a challenge. Don't get me wrong, I have a solid understanding of color grading, but since it's not the main focus of my work, I don't have the speed, fluidity, or deep expertise that a dedicated colorist has. That's why I've always wondered if there was a plugin that could simplify the process without sacrificing quality. And just like a Deus Ex Machina, I found this one. Dehancer is designed to recreate the analog effect on digital clips. While it doesn't cover every aspect of color grading, it specifically focuses on achieving analog looks. Personally, that is exactly what I needed. I mainly use Fujifilm cameras because I appreciate their color science and connection to analog, and recently I've also started shooting whenever it is possible with anamorphic lenses, which are a great addition. Dehancer has provided the finishing touch to my work, enhancing the qualities I already loved about my setup. But let's get into the details. First off, here is the official website where you can download the software. The Pro version costs $149 for 3 months or $449 for a lifetime license. Yes, that is a significant investment, but the good news is that you can try it out for free before making a decision. And here's an extra bonus. If you decide to go for it, you can use the code FEUZIDEHANCER for a 10% discount. As I explored other sections of the site, one thing I really appreciated is that Dehancer offers a wealth of guide articles on how to use the software, its components, and even some basic concepts of color grading. This allows everyone to gain a comprehensive understanding of the tools available in the plugin and use them with confidence. You can also download specific PDF guides based on the software you're using with the plugin. Specifically for DaVinci Resolve, you will find detailed explanation of the recommended node workflow in the Learn section. To keep it simple, the node where we'll apply the Dehancer will almost always be the last in the chain. However, you can also choose to apply the Dehancer to a single node and work exclusively within that node, depending on the situation and the type of footage you're dealing with. Here's how the plugin window looks. I will not dive into all the parameters in details, as my aim isn't to create a tutorial but to share my experience with the plugin. However, you can find plenty of helpful videos on the Dehancer's official YouTube channel that cover how to use each parameter. Now, let's take a look at this clip of a straight in Oslo late at night. First, without the Dehancer. And now, with the Dehancer. For this clip, I will apply the Dehancer on a single node to better demonstrate the individual options available in the plugin. I intentionally chose a clip with very low light and a lot of anamorphic flares to make things more interesting. Let's now go over the parameters. We always start with the Input tab, where we can choose our camera, Fujifilm in my case, our shooting format, and some basic parameters. I'm going to adjust exposure and white balance a bit, but I will skip the fringe option. Next, we choose the film emulation we want, and as you can see, there are many options. I really appreciate how accurate they are. For this specific clip, I'm going to test CineStill 800D, which is considered one of the best films ever for night shots. According to Dehancer's official website, each film profile in Dehancer is built from 3 different exposures of the same film, since all films behave differently depending on how much light they receive during exposure. That is why we can adjust the effect with this push and pull creative tool. Then we have the film developer section, which allows us to tweak the contrast boost and other parameters like gamma correction. Film compression recreates the proper clipping in the highlights as it happens with film. Keep in mind that on a negative film, highlight clipping occurs much later than on a digital camera. I am going to increase the impact to move the highlights toward the midtones. With the expand tool, we can change our black and white points. Quite simple. The print section is a bit more complex, so I suggest carefully reading the full explanation on the dedicated page on the Dehancer website. For this clip, I will set a linear print. Other parameters like film grain, halation, bloom, film damage, film breadth, and overscan are fun to explore and definitely great to use. My favorite is film grain. Obviously, the grain increases by lowering the film format and raising the ISO. For example, if I set it to 8mm with 500 ISO, I get a lot of grain. but for this clip, I'll go with 35mm and 250 ISO, which is perfect balance in my case. I am also adding some film damage and film breadth. And here we are. This is the comparison without Dehancer and with Dehancer. I really like it. How about you? Share your thoughts in the comments. This was my honest opinion. Don't forget that you can use the code Dehancer for a 10% discount on the plugin. Also, check out the Colorist Award, which is given for the best grading. You can find all the info on the regulations here. I've also put a link in the description. And if you're curious about my future project with an analog look, subscribe to the channel and stay updated. See you soon, Fails.